My early days were spent on the Green Road in Williamsburg County, mainly Lake City. Not to get confused with Lake City, Florida, because we did not have a lake. My grandmother was a widow with 8 children and a sharecropper. I attended kindergarten through 2nd grade in Camden, New Jersey, then moved back to Lake City in 3rd grade. Upon moving back to Lake City, I was thrust into a segregated school system. One thing I fondly remember is that the teachers there challenged us each day, and we as students competed against each other. Lake City was an agricultural community. Tobacco, cotton, soybeans, green beans, tomatoes, cucumbers, corn, and others. But when you look in retrospect, our biggest crop back then in the early 1900s was green beans. We were the green bean capital of the world. We had the world's largest green bean auction right in Lake City. The trains would pull in, and then they would take the rail cars and put them off, and they would purchase the beans that were and load them up to send them to the northern cities that were auctioned off in the bean market. Tobacco was another major crop for our community. And tobacco was flue cured, which means it was cured by heat. And we had many that worked in the tobacco fields and around the tobacco barns. And what we call green tobacco is when it was in the field, and dry tobacco when it had been cured. Children worked alongside the adults with parents and children all working. The children were working so that they could get monies for their school clothes and their school supplies. So everyone was into it, and everyone played a part in that particular market. Also in that market, we had a lot of buyers that would come into town, and they would stay in the homes of citizens. Didn't have a lot of hotels then, so money was made just by them staying there. Restaurants, they had to eat. And we look at it of all of it as being a huge economic impact. Well, at some point in time, farming began to be phased out. Mechanism came in. They got electric stringers. They got automatic croppers and things like that. And then something else happened in our community. Our textile plants, such as Nanya, which is one of our plants that does plastics. But before Nanya got there, we had Talon that did zippers. We had Coleman that did camping equipment. And we had Wentworth Manufacturing, which did clothing. And those were our major industries in town. So fast forward, and we now have Nanya, which does polyester, pellets, and plastics. Nanya employs about 1,000 people. A few years ago, the Super Bowl jerseys that were worn by the players were the product of Nanya Lake City. And then for a lot of you that drink Dasani water, Dasani water bottles, the pellets are made in Lake City, South Carolina at Nanya. Then we have conversion carbon, or carbon conversion. And that is a recycling plant. And what it does is it takes old airplanes, boats, and other items, and they break it down, and it's recycled. It goes as far as China and other places in regards to the width of the market. Then we have Dunline Rubber. They make these huge belts that go into the machines in the other countries that do textiles now. But they're made right there in Lake City. And then we have an erosion control company. They do the straw and the needles that you see on the side of the road when they're working on highway paving and ditches to stem the flow and control the flow of where the runoff water goes. The smaller companies average about 25 to 50 people, which means we have a very good mix of what we need to have. Thinking about how we used to be in an agricultural setting, it brought something to my mind. How does a community remain ageless as its citizens are aging? Well, to do that, you know that there's 3 different sets that vary in a community. You have your youth, you have your middle-aged adults, and you have your seniors. How do we work with that? Well, our youth, they need to have things that apply to them. They need to have recreational space. They need to have parks. They need to have a recreation department where they can play football, basketball, baseball, and things like that. Then you have the middle age, which is the working group. They need to have suitable employment so they can support their families, so that they can afford housing. But within that context, we still need to have low-income housing as well. And then we have our seniors, who I call our people of wisdom. They're there to keep us all on track, and they have the Lake City Senior Center. The Lake City Senior Center gives them an opportunity to come out where they're not in the house all the time, and they can communicate and associate with those that are of their age. Our group in Lake City is called the Teenagers, because that's how active they are. And all of these groups, actually, they are indispersible. They mix together, and it makes a big setting on how the town can grow and continue to grow. Well, what are some things that you must use in a small community? Because our assets are far less than those in large communities. Well, one is you need to have a vision. 2 is you need to have a plan. 3 is you need to have some resources. And 4 is you need to have hard work. My understanding, or what was been taught to me over the years, is that the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. So when you put all of those things together, a vision, what do you want your town to look like in the future? Well, when we talk about visions, we must see beyond what we ordinarily see. The other part of a vision is faith. Do we truly believe we can get it done with the resources not being readily available? Are we willing to step out on faith and work hard to get these things done? Resources. Lake City's been blessed with resources and folk that are out there to help Lake City along the way. We currently have one of our hometown products and financier and philanthropist that has moved back home, Ms. Moore, and she has come in with the Dollar Moore Foundation. We have the Lake City Development Office. We have the Lake City Housing Authority. We have the Lake City Chamber of Commerce. We have the Boys and Girls Club for our youth. So we have a lot of integral parts that are working together to keep our town ageless while our citizens are still aging. So what does Lake City see in the future, and what is it going to take to keep us moving forward? Well, infrastructure is one of the primary items that we have to deal with. You must have a short-term, intermediate, and a long-term goal on infrastructure. There are some things in infrastructure that have to be fixed right now. There are other things that we can do the short-term and long-term planning on. If a pipe breaks in the city, it has to be fixed immediately. As in all towns, we're facing the same thing that many others are. We all have some aging infrastructure. So plans have been put in place to make sure that we identify, lay our plans out, and we work to get those items completed. We also have to have public safety. No one's coming to visit you if they don't feel safe. So we have our Lake City Police Department and our Lake City Fire Department. Lake City Police Department has done an excellent job the past years on reducing crime in our community. The Lake City Fire Department, first responders. Our ISO rating was initially a 4 when I came in a few years ago, but now it's been reduced and cut in half. Our ISO rating is a 2. When we look at the other items that we need, our social infrastructure, hospital, schools, recreational facilities, and other things that would associate our town with growth, our senior citizen center, our police department that does a checkmate program, whereas they have a listing of the seniors, and they check on them to make sure that they're all right. And they have a particular officer or two that are assigned to them. Our fire department, fire safety is a must. They do what they call a smoke alarm blitz. And each year, they put in over 1,000 smoke alarms. And this is done on their time for a community to continue to be ageless while the population is aging means that we have to have a lot of dynamics in place. I spoke about Dunline rubber. I spoke about Nanya. I spoke about carbon conversions. And I spoke about the erosion control. But our future centerpiece will be the Florence Darlington Technical College. It's going to be located right on Main Street, Lake City. It is a collaboration between all of the groups that we have mentioned before. Just think about it. A college downtown that will have approximately 500 youth in the downtown area at all times. That gives our shops, our businesses, an opportunity to increase their staffing and to increase opportunities for young entrepreneurs. We have a current program that has been used the past couple of years, and what it has done is it's where you have an opportunity to win $55,000 as a startup. And then let's take a look at what Artfields has done in conjunction with the other things we're doing. In 2014, Artfields was noted as the #1 place out of 50 places in 50 states by CNN. This year, in 2018, it was voted #1 for small scenic places in America. So there's been a lot of cooperation, a lot of movement in getting a lot of things done in the community. So Lake City continues to grow as it continues to engage our youth, continues to engage our parents in middle age, and continues to engage our seniors. Future plans. Downtown is being remodeled. We're working on infrastructure items that we have, such as drainage, sewer, water tanks, recreational facilities. So all of these things are in the plan as we continue to move forward and make things happen. So as we continue to move forward with the things that we have done, and the things that we now have in place, Lake City will look brighter.